Dr. Hana Kim looked out at the massive alien space station through the small window of the human ship Endeavour. The Vegan station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It had strange curves and towers that seemed to grow like a crystal formation in the black space around them. Blue and green lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that hurt her eyes to watch. "First time seeing aliens," said Captain Jiwon Park as she walked up behind Hana. "Nervous?" Hana nodded. She was one of 20 humans chosen for this historic mission. After years of radio signals back and forth, the Vegas had finally agreed to meet humans face to face. But they had rules. Every human had to pass their bioscanner before setting foot on their station. "It's just a medical check," Jiwon said, trying to sound calm. "They want to make sure we don't carry diseases that could hurt them." Makes sense. The Endeavour docked with a soft bump. Through the airlock came two Vegas. Hana had seen pictures, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like it was made of small scales. Their eyes were large and black, and they moved in a smooth way that reminded her of swimming fish. "Welcome, humans," one of them said through a translator device. "I am Healer Vexen. We must scan each of you before you can enter our station. It is for the safety of all." The bioscanner was a white cylinder about the size of a phone booth. One by one, the humans stepped inside. The machine made soft humming sounds and flashed different colored lights. Each scan took about a minute. Engineer Do-Yun Lee went first. The scanner hummed, flashed blue, then made a pleasant beeping sound. "Clear," announced the Vegan operator. Communications officer Minho Shin was next. Same result. Green flash beep clear. 18 humans passed through without problems. Then it was Hana's turn. She stepped into the cylinder and tried to stay calm. The scanner started its usual humming. But instead of the normal blue flash, the light turned bright red. The humming became a harsh buzzing sound. "That's odd," Healer Vexen said, checking his instruments. "Please try again." Hana stepped out, then back in. This time the red light was brighter. The buzzing became a wailing alarm. Suddenly, every screen in the docking bay turned red. Warning sounds started blasting throughout the Vegan station, not just in their section, but everywhere. Through the walls, they could hear the deep horn sounds of emergency alarms. "What's happening?" Captain Jiwon demanded. The Vegas looked terrified. They were talking rapidly in their own language, voices high and scared. More Vegas rushed into the docking bay, all carrying weapons. "Security alert level maximum," one of them said in broken English. "Ancient protocols activated. All stations prepare for—" He stopped and looked confused. "We don't know. The computer says prepare for something, but the word doesn't translate." Through the station windows, Hana could see Vegan warships moving toward the Endeavour. Their weapons were charging, creating bright points of light along their hulls. "You need to explain this immediately," said Admiral Thorak as he strode into the docking bay. He was larger than the other Vegas, with scars across his gray skin and metal implants along his skull. "Your human has triggered something that hasn't been activated in 50,000 years. Captain Jiwon stepped forward. "We don't understand what's happening any more than you do. Dr. Kim is just a scientist. She's never been in space before this mission." "Then why," Admiral Thorak demanded, "is every computer system on this station screaming about an ancient threat? Why are our oldest security programs suddenly active? Programs so old that even we don't remember what they were designed to protect against?" Hana felt sick. All eyes were on her. 20 humans and a dozen Vegas, all waiting for an explanation she didn't have. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I'm just a biology researcher. I study alien plant samples. I've never done anything that could trigger a security system." Dr. Yuna Choi, the mission's geneticist, pulled out her portable scanner. "May I check Dr. Kim's DNA signature?" Admiral Thorak nodded grimly. Yuna ran the scanner over Hana's hand. The device beeped and displayed a complex pattern of genetic markers. "This is impossible," Yuna whispered, staring at the results. "What?" Jiwon asked. "Her DNA. Parts of it don't match any known human patterns. There are sequences here that I've never seen before. They're not random mutations. They're too complex, too organized. It's like someone designed them." The station's alarm suddenly changed pitch. Now they were making a rhythmic pulsing sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. "Incoming transmission," announced a Vegan technician. "Multiple sources. All major civilizations in the galaxy are reporting the same alert status." Admiral Thorak's large black eyes went wide. "All of them?" "The crystalline hegemony, The Fluid Collective, the Machine Concordat, even the isolated systems, everyone is reporting that their oldest security protocols have activated simultaneously. Through the communication system came a voice speaking a language none of them recognized. It was deep and powerful, with strange echoes that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "What is that?" Hana asked. "We don't know," Admiral Thorak said. "Our computers are broadcasting it, but it's not in any language in our databases. The signal appears to be coming from everywhere at once. More ships were arriving at the station, not just Vegan vessels, but alien ships of designs that Hana had never seen. Some looked like living creatures made of crystal. Others were perfect spheres that seemed to bend light around them. A few appeared to be made entirely of flowing liquid metal. "Representatives from every major civilization," reported the technician. They all received the same alert. "They're all looking for answers." Captain Jiwan grabbed Hana's arm. "We need to get back to our ship, now." But Admiral Thorak blocked their path. "The human stays. Whatever she is, whatever's hidden in her genetics, it's connected to something ancient and dangerous. Every species in the galaxy just went to maximum alert because of her. We need to understand why." "She's under our protection," Jiwan said firmly. "And the galaxy may be under threat because of her," Thorak replied. "Look around you. This isn't just a security alert. This is a warning system that was built into the foundation of every major civilization. Our ancestors, who we barely remember, programmed this response. Something so important that they made sure it would survive even if our entire cultures were destroyed and rebuilt." Hana looked at her hands. They looked normal, human. But Yuna's scanner had found something impossible in her DNA. Something that had just sent the entire galaxy into panic. "What if," she said slowly, "what if I'm not entirely human?" The question hung in the air like a challenge to everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the universe. "The scanner detected artificial genetic sequences," Yuna said, checking her readings again. "Patterns that match mathematical constants. This isn't natural evolution. Someone or something altered your genetic code. But when and why?" The mysterious voice from the speakers grew louder. Even though none of them could understand the words, there was something about the tone that made everyone in the room feel afraid. "We need answers," Admiral Thorak said, "and until we get them, no one leaves this station. The galaxy is watching us now. Every civilization that shares the stars is waiting to see what we do next." Hana realized that her simple mission to make first contact with aliens had become something much bigger, something that reached back through thousands of years of galactic history, to a mystery that even the most advanced civilizations had forgotten. Whatever was hidden in her DNA, it was about to change everything. Engineer Do-Hyun Lee had been working for 18 hours straight, and his hands were shaking from too much coffee. The conference room on the Vegan station was filled with the strangest collection of beings he had ever imagined. Admiral Thorak sat at one end of the long table, his gray skin looking darker under the stress. Across from him was Ambassador Zeltron of the crystalline hegemony, a creature that looked like a walking diamond formation with points of light moving through its transparent body. Next to her was Collective Speaker Morph, who wasn't really one being but thousands of tiny liquid creatures that flowed together to form a humanoid shape. "The situation is simple," Admiral Thorak was saying. "Every major civilization in the galaxy has the same emergency protocols built into their computer systems. None of us remember programming them. None of us understand what they mean. But they all activated when Dr. Kim's DNA was scanned." Ambassador Zeltron's voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "Our historians have searched through 50,000 years of records. These protocols appear in our oldest databases, but there are no files explaining their purpose. It's as if someone deliberately erased the context while leaving the warnings intact." Do-Hyun looked through the transparent. While at the laboratory, where Dr. Yuna Choi was working with alien scientists to analyze Hana's genetic code, the equipment they were using was unlike anything on Earth. Some of it seemed to be alive, growing and changing as it processed information. "The preliminary analysis is complete," Yuna announced as she entered the conference room. She looked exhausted but excited. "Dr. Kim's DNA contains artificial sequences. Someone or something inserted specific genetic patterns into her family line. But here's the impossible part. Some of these sequences are older than humanity itself." Collective Speaker Morph shifted, its liquid form rippling with curiosity. Explain. The modifications aren't random. They're mathematical. Her genetic code contains sequences that match the value of pi to 300 decimal places. It contains the golden ratio, prime number sequences, and mathematical constants that we've only discovered in the last century. But these patterns have been in her family's DNA for thousands of generations. That's impossible, said Dr. Siok, the mission's anthropologist. Humans have only been doing genetics for decades. How could mathematical formulas be in our DNA for thousands of years? Communications officer Minho Shin looked up from his workstation. I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. The alert isn't just activating computer systems. Ancient structures are powering up. Constructs hidden in asteroid fields, buried on dead planets, concealed inside gas giants. They're all responding to the same signal. Ambassador Zeltrin's crystalline body flashed with different colors. We know of such structures in our space. We always assumed they were natural formations. Our surveys showed they were just unusual crystal growths. Ours too, said Admiral Thorak. Except our ancestors built monitoring stations to watch them. Stations we've been maintaining for generations without knowing why. On the main screen, Minho displayed a map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light were scattered across it, blinking in a synchronized pattern. These are all the structures that have activated in the last 24 hours, he explained. They're not randomly distributed. They form a pattern, a network that covers the entire galaxy. Dr. Yuna pulled up another display showing Hana's genetic analysis. Look at this. The artificial sequences in Dr. Kim's DNA aren't just mathematical constants. They're coordinates. Star positions, gravitational measurements, quantum signatures. It's like her genetic code is a map of the galaxy. Do-Yun felt a chill run down his spine. A map to what? That's what we need to find out, Admiral Thorak said grimly. But first we need to understand who put this information in human DNA and why. Cultural attaché Somin Kang had been quietly reviewing alien mythology databases. She stood up, her face pale with realization. I think I know, she said. Every civilization in this room has legends about the architects, beings who supposedly seeded the galaxy with life millions of years ago before vanishing. We always assumed they were just myths, creation stories that different species told themselves. What if they weren't myths? Yuna asked. Every species has the same basic story, Somin continued. The architects created life throughout the galaxy, then disappeared to protect their children from some terrible threat. They supposedly left behind guardians and safeguards, hidden until they were needed. Collective speaker Morph's form became more solid, showing interest. Our oldest stories speak of the great gardeners who planted the seeds of consciousness across the stars. But they also speak of the devourers who sought to consume what had been created. Ambassador Zeltrin's lights pulsed rapidly. The shapers in our mythology. They built the foundations of reality itself, then hid from something that came from outside the known universe. Do-Hyun looked back at the laboratory where Hana was undergoing more tests. She looked tired and scared, but she was cooperating with everything the scientists needed to do. Are you saying that Dr. Kim is somehow connected to these mythical architects? He asked. Not just connected, Yuna said, studying her latest readings. I think she might be descended from them. Her DNA doesn't just contain artificial sequences. It contains genetic markers that are older than any known species, patterns that appeared to be templates for the basic structures of life itself. Science Officer Kyung-Wo rushed into the room, carrying a portable scanner. I've been monitoring gravitational distortions across the galaxy. The ancient structures aren't just activating, they're building something, generating massive energy fields that are connecting to each other across interstellar distances. He displayed his readings on the main screen. Lines of force were spreading between the activated structures like a vast web spanning the galaxy. It's a network, he continued. A communication system or maybe a weapon system. Something designed to operate on a galactic scale. Admiral Thorak stood up, his expression grim. We need to make a decision. Every civilization in the galaxy is watching us. They want to know if humanity represents a threat or an opportunity. Dr. Kim's genetic code has activated something that our ancestors thought was important enough to build into the foundation of our societies. What kind of decision? Captain Jiwon asked. Whether to trust you, Ambassador Zeltrin said. The network that's activating appears to be a defense system. But defense against what? And why is it controlled by human genetics? Through the laboratory window, They could see Hana sitting calmly as alien devices scanned her body in ways that Earth science couldn't understand. She looked small and fragile compared to the massive machines surrounding her. "There's something else," Yuna said quietly. "The genetic sequences in Dr. Kim's DNA aren't stable. They're changing, evolving, as if they're responding to the activation of the galactic network." "Responding how?" Do-hyun asked. "New information is appearing in her genetic code. Star charts, technical specifications, what appear to be weapon designs. It's like her DNA is downloading data from somewhere." Collective speaker Morph flowed closer to the window. "If the ancient stories are true and she really is descended from the architects, then she might be inheriting their knowledge." "Knowledge of what?" Admiral Thorak demanded. Kyung-woo checked his gravitational sensors again. His face went white. "I'm detecting massive space-time distortions at the edge of the galaxy," he said. "Something big is coming. Something that shouldn't exist according to our understanding of physics." The lights in the conference room flickered. Through the station's communication system came that same mysterious voice they had heard before, but now it was louder and more urgent. "The network is trying to tell us something," Minho said, working frantically at his translation programs. "But it's not using any known language. It's using mathematics. Pure mathematical concepts. Can you decode it?" Ji-won asked. "I'm trying, but I need Dr. Kim's help. Her genetic code might be the key to understanding what the network is saying." Through the laboratory window, they saw Hana suddenly sit up straight. Her eyes went wide, and she began speaking in a language none of them had ever heard before. "Get her in here," Admiral Thorak ordered. "Now!" As the aliens hurried to bring Hana to the conference room, Do-hyun couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Whatever was coming from the edge of the galaxy, the ancient defense network was preparing for it, and somehow, the fate of every living being in the galaxy might depend on a human scientist who was discovering that she wasn't entirely human after all. Dr. Hana Kim felt like she was drowning in someone else's memories. Images flashed through her mind. Vast cities of crystal and light, beings of pure energy shaping matter with their thoughts, and always the same feeling of desperate urgency. "Something is coming," she said as the alien scientists helped her into the conference room. "I can see it in my mind. Something terrible that destroyed everything before." Cultural attaché So-man Kang leaned forward. "What exactly are you seeing?" Hana closed her eyes and tried to make sense of the flood of information pouring through her consciousness. A war, not just between planets or species, but between different kinds of reality. There were beings who created life throughout the galaxy, and they were fighting something that came from outside our universe. "The architects," whispered Ambassador Zeltran. "Yes," Hana said, surprised that she knew the name. "They were my ancestors. Humanity's ancestors, but we weren't the only ones. Every species in the galaxy carries some of their genetic legacy." Dr. Yuna Choi checked her scanners. Her brain activity is off the charts. It's like her neurons are connecting to quantum fields that shouldn't exist. Science Officer Kyung-woo pulled up his gravitational readings. "The distortions at the galaxy's edge are getting stronger. Whatever's coming, it's massive, bigger than our largest space stations." Hana opened her eyes, and for a moment they seemed to glow with an inner light. "It's not just big. It's wrong. It comes from a place where thought and matter follow different rules. The architects called them the Devourers because they consume consciousness itself." Engineer Do-hyun Lee felt a chill of recognition. "The defense network, the ancient structures that are activating across the galaxy, they're weapons designed to fight these Devourers." "Not just weapons," Hana said, her voice taking on a strange, echoing quality. "Shields, manufacturing centers, communication relays. The architects built an entire galactic defense system, then hid it until their children were ready to inherit it." Collective speaker Morph flowed closer to Hana. "How do you know all this?" "Because it's written in my DNA. Not just the information, but the experiences. Genetic memories passed down through millions of years. The architects didn't just create life. They made sure their knowledge would survive even if they didn't." Admiral Thorak activated the station's main display. Across the galaxy, the ancient structures were glowing brighter, connected by streams of energy that bent space itself. "If this is true," he said, "then every species in the galaxy is part of this defense system. We're all children of the architects." "Yes," Hana confirmed, "but humans are different. We carry the command codes, the genetic keys needed to activate and control the network." Communications Officer Minho Shin looked up from his workstation, his face pale. I'm getting reports from deep space monitoring stations. Something just entered our galaxy. Multiple somethings. They're not showing up on normal sensors, but they're creating gravitational waves that are bending light itself. On the main screen, distant stars began to flicker and dim as something passed between them and the observation stations. How many? Captain Jiwon asked. Thousands. Maybe millions. They're moving faster than anything we've ever detected, but they're not using any known form of propulsion. Hana stood up, her movement suddenly more graceful and confident than before. They don't use propulsion as we understand it. They slip between dimensions, moving through spaces that exist between our reality and theirs. How do we fight something like that? Do-hyun asked. With weapons that work in multiple dimensions simultaneously, Hana replied. The architects designed the defense network to operate on levels of reality that most species can't even perceive. Dr. Yuna ran another scan on Hana's genetic patterns. The artificial sequences are still evolving. New information is appearing faster than I can catalog it. Technical specifications, weapon designs, even what appear to be battle strategies. The network is downloading the architect database into her DNA, realized Kyung-woo. Millions of years of accumulated knowledge, compressed into genetic code. Ambassador Zeltron's crystalline form flashed with urgent colors. Our deep space sensors are detecting energy signatures approaching our outer colonies. Whatever these devourers are, they'll reach populated systems within days. Then we need to activate the defense network now, Admiral Thorak decided. Dr. Kim, what do you need? Hana closed her eyes again, accessing memories that weren't her own. I need to reach the central hub. It's hidden inside our galaxy's central black hole, protected by gravitational fields that would crush any normal matter. That's impossible, Do-hyun protested. Nothing can survive inside a black hole. Nothing made of ordinary matter, Hana corrected. But the hub exists in a pocket dimension, anchored to the black hole's event horizon. The architects built it there because it's the one place in the galaxy that the devourers can't reach directly. How do we get there? Jiwon asked. The network itself will transport us. The ancient structures can generate dimensional tunnels that bypass normal space, but I need to be at a primary node to establish the connection. Soman Kang consulted the mythological databases. According to the legends, there's a primary node in this system, hidden inside the gas giant that the Vegas use for fuel harvesting. Admiral Thorak's expression was grim. That's a military installation, heavily defended. Not against me, Hana said with growing confidence. The network recognizes my genetic signature. It will respond to my commands. Minho's communication system suddenly came alive with signals from across the galaxy. Every civilization is reporting the same thing. The ancient structures in their territories are powering up, waiting for activation codes. They're all connected, Hana realized. When I activate the hub, every defensive structure in the galaxy will come online simultaneously. But there's a problem. What problem? Admiral Thorak demanded. The system requires authorization from multiple genetic lineages. I carry the primary command codes, but other species carry secondary keys. The Vegas, the crystalline hegemony, the fluid collective, you all have pieces of the puzzle hidden in your DNA. Ambassador Zeltron stepped forward. What kind of authorization? Willing cooperation. The architects built safeguards to prevent any one species from controlling the network alone. It requires representatives from all major civilizations to work together. A built-in check against tyranny, Do-hyun realized. Smart. Collective speaker morph flowed into a more formal configuration. The fluid collective will provide our genetic key, as will the crystalline hegemony, Ambassador Zeltron declared. Admiral Thorak nodded grimly. And the Vegas. But what happens after we activate this network? What are we really unleashing? Hana accessed more genetic memories, seeing glimpses of the last war between the architects and the devourers. The most powerful defensive system ever created. Weapons that can rewrite the laws of physics, shields that protect entire star systems, manufacturing facilities that can build fleets in minutes instead of years. And the cost? Jiwon asked. The same cost the architects paid, Hana said quietly. Once the network is fully active, it requires constant maintenance by those who carry the command codes. The responsibility passes to us, to humanity, to be the galaxy's guardians. Through the station's sensors, they could see more stars dimming as the Devourer fleet approached. Time was running out. There's something else, Hannah continued. The genetic memories are showing me the real reason the architects hid humanity on Earth. We weren't just being protected from the Devourers. We were being prepared. Prepared for what? Yuna asked. To be better than they were. The architects were powerful, but they were still limited by their original nature.
Humanity evolved differently.
We're more adaptable, more creative, more willing to take risks. The architects designed us to be their successors, not just their inheritors. Kyung-Wo's gravitational sensors were screaming warnings now. The lead elements of the Devourer fleet will reach the outer rim in 6 hours. Then we go now, Admiral Thorak decided. All representatives to the gas giant installation. Dr. Kim, are you ready to claim your inheritance? Hana looked around the room at the gathered aliens, beings, who had been strangers hours ago but were now her allies, in a fight for the survival of consciousness itself. As ready as anyone can be to save the galaxy, she said. Colonel Jaehyun Bae had seen enough battles to know when an enemy was truly dangerous, but the reports coming from the galaxy's edge made his blood run cold. The Devourer fleet wasn't just approaching, it was unmaking reality as it moved. Show me the latest sensor data, he ordered from the command center of the Joint Alien Task Force. Tactical analyst Yoonji. Nam pulled up the holographic display. Where stars had once shone, there was now simply emptiness. Not darkness, something worse than darkness. Regions where space itself seemed to have forgotten how to exist. They're not destroying matter, she explained. They're erasing the concepts that allow matter to exist. Our deep space probes that get too close just stop. Not destroyed, not damaged. They cease to have ever been. Dr. Hana Kim stood at the center of the hub, her body glowing with energy that bent light around her. The central hub was a structure that shouldn't exist. A crystalline complex the size of a city, floating in a pocket dimension anchored to the galaxy's central black hole. I can see them now, she said, her voice echoing with harmonics that human throats shouldn't be able to produce. Through the network's sensors. They're not ships in any sense we understand. They're mobile pieces of a different reality, forcing our universe to conform to their rules. Engineer Do-Hyun Lee worked frantically at control panels that seemed to grow and change under his hands. The architect technology was responding to his thoughts as much as his actions, but the learning curve was steep. The manufacturing nodes are coming online, he reported. But the designs they're producing? I don't understand half of what they're building. You don't need to understand them, Hana replied. The network knows what weapons are needed. Trust it. Through the hub's dimensional viewers, they could see the galaxy-wide defense network activating. Ancient structures buried in asteroid fields were unfolding into massive weapon platforms. Hidden facilities inside gas giants were churning out fleets of ships that moved like living things through space. Communications officer Minho Shin monitored the flood of signals between the network nodes. Every major civilization is reporting the same thing. Their military forces are being enhanced with architect technology. Ships that were barely spaceworthy yesterday are now capable of dimensional travel. But Admiral Thorak's expression remained grim. Will it be enough? From what we're seeing, these Devourers consumed an entire galaxy before coming here. Not just one galaxy, Hana said, accessing deeper genetic memories. Dozens. They've been spreading across the universe for millions of years, consuming every form of consciousness they encounter. The architects were the first species to successfully resist them. Science Officer Kyung-Wo studied the gravitational data from the hub's sensors. I'm reading massive dimensional distortions throughout our galaxy. The Devourers aren't just traveling through space. They're creating rifts that allow more of their kind to enter our reality. How many are we facing? Colonel Jaehyun asked. Hana closed her eyes, using the network to probe the extent of the invasion. Billions, maybe trillions. They're not individual beings as we understand them. They're fragments of a collective consciousness that spans multiple universes. Then how did the architects stop them before? Dr. Yuna Choi asked. They didn't stop them, Hana replied quietly. They contained them, sealed the dimensional rifts and trapped the Devourers in empty space between galaxies. But the seals were temporary. The architects knew that eventually, the Devourers would break free. Cultural attaché Soman Kang looked up from the mythological databases she was cross-referencing with the network's historical files. That's why they scattered their children across the galaxy. They were preparing for the day when the seals would fail. And that day is now, Admiral Thorax said grimly. On the tactical display, the first waves of the Devourer fleet had reached inhabited systems on the galaxy's rim. The images were horrifying, not because of destruction, but because of the absence that followed. Entire planets simply ceased to exist, leaving behind gaps in space where reality itself had been consumed. Our outer defense lines are engaging, reported Yunji Nam, but conventional weapons aren't working. Energy beams pass right through them, and physical projectiles just disappear. They exist partially outside our dimension, Hana explained. We need weapons that can follow them into their own reality. Do-hyun's fingers danced over controls that reshaped themselves under his touch. The network is producing something new, weapons that fire packets of stabilized space-time. They should be able to damage targets that exist in multiple dimensions. Should? Colonel Jae-hyun asked. The architects never had to use these weapons in actual combat, Hana admitted. They built the defense network as a last resort, but they hoped it would never be needed. Through the hub's communication system came reports from across the galaxy. Fleets of impossible ships were emerging from hidden manufacturing centers. The Vegas reported that their gas giant facility had produced 1,000 vessels in the past hour. The crystalline hegemony's asteroid mines were forging weapons from pure crystallized time. The network is adapting, Minho observed. It's analyzing the Devourer's attack patterns and modifying our defenses in real time. But even as the Galactic Defense Network mobilized, the Devourers continued their advance. For every ship they destroyed, a dozen more emerged from dimensional rifts. For every rift the network sealed, the enemy opened 3 more. We're fighting a holding action, Admiral Thorak realized. They're too numerous and they have the initiative. Hana accessed more genetic memories, searching for the architect's ultimate contingency plans. What she found made her heart sink. There is one weapon that could stop them, she said slowly. The architects built it into the network's core programming. But using it would require a sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? Captain Ji-won Park asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. The network can be overloaded to create a dimensional cascade, a wave of stabilized reality that would spread throughout the galaxy, making it impossible for the Devourers to exist here. But generating that much energy would require someone to merge completely with the network's core. Merge how? Dr. Yuna asked. Consciousness uploaded directly into the quantum field that connects all the network nodes. The person would become part of the system itself, maintaining the cascade permanently. The command center fell silent except for the constant stream of battle reports from across the galaxy. The architects never used this option, Hana continued. They chose to fight a conventional war and hope their children would find a better solution. Have we? Do-hyun asked. Hana smiled, and for a moment she looked entirely human again. Maybe. The architects were brilliant, but they thought like immortal beings. They had all the time in the universe to solve problems. Humans think differently. We're used to impossible deadlines and limited resources. What are you suggesting? Colonel Jae-hyun asked. The Cascade weapon doesn't have to be permanent if we can find a way to make the galaxy hostile to the Devourers without requiring constant maintenance. And I think I know how. She moved to the hub's central control matrix, her hands glowing as she interfaced directly with the network's quantum processors. Instead of one person maintaining the cascade, we distribute the load across every person in the galaxy who carries architect genetics. Everyone contributes a small part of their consciousness to maintain the field. Would that work? Yuna asked, in theory, but it would require willing cooperation from billions of beings across hundreds of species. Everyone would need to accept a permanent mental link to the network. Ambassador Zeltron's crystalline form flashed with rapid calculations. A galactic consciousness. Shared thoughts across species barriers. The ultimate unity, collective speaker Morph added. Its liquid form rippling with excitement, all minds working together. Or the end of individual identity as we know it, Admiral Thorax said grimly. The tactical display showed the Devourer fleet advancing deeper into the galaxy. Inhabited systems were falling faster than the defense network could respond. We're running out of time, Yoonji Nam reported. At their current rate of advance, they'll reach the core systems within hours. Hana looked around at the representatives of every major civilization in the galaxy. The choice is yours. Individual consciousness with the risk of total extinction, or shared consciousness with guaranteed survival. There's a third option, Captain Jiwan said suddenly. You said the architects were immortal beings who had all the time in the universe. But humans are different. We're creative under pressure. What are you suggesting? Hana asked. Maybe we don't need to choose between the cascade weapon and shared consciousness. Maybe we can find a way to use both temporarily, just long enough to drive the Devourers back and seal the dimensional rifts permanently. Hana's eyes widened as she accessed the deepest levels of the network's knowledge, a pulse cascade instead of a permanent field. Generate the reality wave in short bursts, powered by voluntary mental links that can be severed once the threat is eliminated. Can it work? Admiral Thorak demanded. There's only one way to find out, Hana replied. But I'll need representatives from every species to establish the temporary links, and someone will have to coordinate the cascade from the network's core. She looked directly at Captain Jiwan. That someone will be me. Captain Jiwan Park stood at the command center of the largest fleet in galactic history. Through the hub's dimensional viewers, she could see millions of ships from hundreds of different species, all following the coordinates that Dr. Hana Kim was broadcasting from the network's core. All civilizations report ready, Communications Officer Minho Shin announced. The crystalline hegemony has 40,000 vessels in position. The Fluid Collective has merged their consciousness into mobile weapons platforms. Even the isolated machine intelligences have joined the battle. Dr. Hana Kim floated in the center of the hub's quantum matrix, her body surrounded by streams of energy that connected her consciousness to every node in the galactic network. Her voice came from speakers throughout the command center, but it carried harmonics that no human throat could produce. The Devourers have reached the middle rim, she reported, but they're moving differently now. They're confused by the network's interference with their dimensional rifts. Engineer Do-hyun Lee monitored the cascade weapons charging process. The energy readings were beyond anything human science had ever recorded. The pulse generator is at 60% capacity, but Hana, the neural load is enormous. Are you sure you can handle the coordination? I'm not handling it alone, Hana replied. Every person in the galaxy who carries architect genetics is contributing. I can feel their thoughts, their determination. Humans, Vegas, crystallines, everyone. We're all connected now. Dr. Yuna Choi watched the biological monitors that tracked Hana's condition. Her brain activity is off every scale we have. She's processing information from billions of sources simultaneously. Through the tactical display, they could see the battle raging throughout the galaxy. The Devourer fleet had split into countless smaller groups attacking from multiple dimensions at once. But the Galactic Defense Network was adapting faster than the enemy could adjust. Science Officer Kyung Wo tracked the dimensional distortions created by the battle. The Devourers are opening new rifts faster than we can seal them. For every portal we close, they create 2 more. Then we stop playing defense, declared Colonel Jae-hyun Bae. Hana, can the network track the rifts back to their source? From within the quantum matrix, Hana's consciousness expanded across multiple dimensions. Through the network's sensors, she could perceive the Devourer's home reality. A universe where thought and matter followed completely different rules. I can see their origin point, she said. It's not in our universe at all. They're projecting themselves from a dimension where consciousness exists without physical form. The rifts are like windows they're using to reach into our reality. Can we close the windows permanently? Admiral Thorak asked from his position in the battle fleet. Not from this side. But if I can reverse the cascade pulse, send the reality wave back through the rifts, you'd be attacking their home dimension directly, realized tactical analyst Yoonji Nam. Is that even possible? The architects never tried it, Hana admitted. They were too afraid of what might happen if they failed. But humans are better at taking calculated risks. Cultural attaché Somin Kang monitored the psychological effects of the temporary mental links across the galaxy. The shared consciousness network is holding steady. Every species is contributing thoughts and energy to maintain the cascade field. Cascade weapon at 80%, Do-hyun reported. But the energy requirements for a reverse pulse would be triple what we're generating now. Then we need more power, Captain Jiwan decided. Hana, what about the black hole? Can the network tap into the gravitational energy of the galactic core? Through her expanded consciousness, Hana explored possibilities that would have taken human scientists centuries to calculate. The hub is already anchored to the black hole's event horizon. I can modify the dimensional field to extract energy directly from the gravitational singularity. That sounds incredibly dangerous, Dr. Yuna protested. Everything about this situation is dangerous, Hana replied with a laugh that somehow sounded both human and alien. But the theoretical energy output would be sufficient for a reverse cascade pulse. The battle was intensifying across the galaxy. Reports flooded in from every front, victories and defeats, breakthroughs and disasters. The Vegas had developed new weapons that could track devourers across dimensional boundaries. The crystalline hegemony was using their natural quantum properties to seal rifts faster than before. The Fluid Collective had discovered how to merge with the network's energy streams to become living weapons. All species are reporting the same thing, Minho announced. They're not just fighting alongside each other anymore. The mental links are letting them coordinate at a level that shouldn't be possible. It's not just coordination, Hana explained. The shared consciousness is creating new innovations in real time. When a vegan scientist has an idea, a crystalline engineer can implement it instantly, and a fluid collective can test it across 1,000 battles simultaneously. The network effect, Doyun realized. Every mind connected to every other mind. The problem-solving capacity is exponential. Kyungwo's sensors detected a massive shift in the Devourer fleet's behavior. They're pulling back from the outer systems, concentrating their forces for a final push toward the galactic core. They've realized what we're doing, Admiral Thorak reported from the front lines. They're trying to destroy the hub before we can complete the cascade weapon. Through the dimensional viewers, they could see the largest Devourer constructs ever encountered converging on their position. These weren't ships, but pieces of living void, reality-devoid zones that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. How long until the cascade weapon is ready? Colonel Jaehyun asked. 2 hours, Do-hyun replied. But those things will be here in 30 minutes. Then we hold them off, Jiwon said grimly. All fleets protect the hub at all costs. The final battle began in dimensions that human eyes couldn't perceive. Ships fired weapons that bent the laws of physics. The Devourers attacked with forces that tried to convince matter it had never existed. The Galactic Defense Network responded with tools that rewrote reality itself. Through it all, Hana maintained her connection to billions of minds across the galaxy. She could feel their fear, their hope, their determination to protect everything they had built together. Cascade weapon at 90%, Do-hyun announced. Hana, the neural load is approaching critical levels. I can handle it, she replied, though her voice was strained with effort. The entire galaxy is supporting me. I can feel the strength of every species, every individual who refuses to give up. The Devourer's final assault on the hub was devastating. Reality itself seemed to crack under the pressure of their attack. But the combined fleets of the galaxy held the line, using weapons and tactics that no single species could have developed alone. Cascade weapon at full charge, Do-hyun reported. Hana, we're ready. Through her quantum consciousness, Hana reached out to every person connected to the network. Humans and aliens, organic beings and machine intelligences, all united by their shared determination to survive. Together, she said, her voice reaching every mind in the galaxy simultaneously. The cascade pulse erupted from the hub like a wave of crystallized reality. It spread throughout the galaxy in seconds, passing through the dimensional rifts and carrying the fundamental laws of their universe into the Devourer's home dimension. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Devourer's reality couldn't sustain the physics of matter and energy. Their consciousness-based existence began to unravel as the cascade wave imposed the rules of physical reality upon their realm. All rifts are collapsing, Kyungwo reported. The Devourers are being pulled back into their own dimension, and the rifts are sealing permanently, added Minho. The cascade wave created a dimensional barrier that prevents them from opening new portals. As the threat faded, Hana began the delicate process of disconnecting from the network's core. The temporary mental links across the galaxy dissolved one by one, returning individual consciousness to billions of beings. But something had changed. The shared experience of fighting together, thinking together, had created bonds that would last long after the crisis ended. Status report. Captain Jiwon requested as Hana's feet touched the hub's solid floor for the first time in hours. The Devourers are contained in their own dimension, Hana reported, her voice human again but carrying new depths of understanding. The barriers will hold indefinitely as long as the network continues to function. And the network requires maintenance, Admiral Thorak observed. Yes, Hana nodded. The galaxy's children have inherited their parents' greatest gift and their greatest responsibility. We're the guardians now. Dr. Yuna ran a final scan on Hana's genetics. The artificial sequences are stable. You've fully integrated the architect legacy. Not just me, Hana corrected. All of us. Every species that participated in the battle now carries active architect codes. We're all guardians of the galaxy. Somin Kang smiled as she reviewed the cultural databases. The old myths were right after all. The architects did leave protectors behind. They just didn't realize they were creating an entire galactic civilization to carry on their work. As the combined fleets began returning to their home systems, they carried with them new technologies, new FR ways.